Hello again, Guardians, and welcome back to another Destiny content related video on the Rise of Iron expansion. And in today's video, we're in the tower. Why? Because I'm going to be going over the 10 legendary weapons inside of the vendors that I believe should be moved over with you to the Rise of Iron expansion. Why is that? Because the vendor weapons that are currently in the tower now are actually going to be removed and swapped out with new weapons, new armor, and all around, these 10 weapons I'm going to go over are probably worthwhile in keeping. So while they're around right now in the game, you might want to get your hands on them. Sorry this video is up so late, Guardians. There's only 10 days before Rise of Iron, but if you can, try to get a couple of them before the DLC drops on September 20th. Let's go over the weapons now. So the first thing I want to tell you is I only did this from my strict opinion. If you disagree with my opinion, don't purchase the weapons. If you agree with me, purchase the weapons before Rise of Iron and you'll be able to hold on to them for the rest of your life. Now, if you don't purchase them before Rise of Iron, you might never have the chance again to get these weapons. 5 weapons out of Crucible Quartermaster are actually on our list, and yes, I will not be breaking the list down into 1 to 10. They will be mismatched because I had no idea what order to put them in. The only weapon I am sure to put in number 1 spot is Hawksaw. So without further ado, let's go in and approach the Quartermaster and view the 5 weapons out of the Crucible. Very first one we will go over is the next big thing. If you actually go into the perks of the next big thing, you'll realize that it's great for PvE. What do I mean by this? It kills ultras very, very easily. It has crowd control, full auto, and also perfect balance and hand-laid stock. If you run perfect balance or hand-laid stock with full auto and crowd control, you can actually kill Hive Ultra Knights very easily. And this is good for running through the Rise of Iron story missions coming up very soon. So stay tuned for that and have the shotgun prepared and ready for annihilation inside of the story mode. Going back to the Crucible Quartermaster, we have Havoc Pigeon, the Void sidearm that's actually fairly decent in Crucible, and now that sidearm's got a big buff inside of Rise of Iron's patch 2.4.0, this actually works even better now. It's got reactive reload, it's got relentless tracker, hand loaded, quick draw, and appended magazine. You can work with these 3 perks here to figure out which one suits you best, but these 2 here, along with one of these, especially quick draw or appended magazine, work fairly well. Then we have the auto rifle, and surprisingly it works very well in the new patch 2.4.0 because of the new patch with auto rifles. The hidden hand here, along with injection mold or rifled barrel, along with rodeo, makes this weapon an absolute PvP boss. I've actually used it personally, and surprisingly it works fairly well. So please try it out, give it a test run, and if you do, you will not be upset, Guardians. Moving on, we also have the fan favorite Hawksaw, and yes, this is going to be number 1 on our list if we did have a number 1 spot. Now, this weapon has been used by plenty of Guardians inside of the Crucible, and all around is one of the weapons you should be planning to bring with you in Rise of Iron. If you have not had the chance to purchase this weapon, this is going to be the number 1 recommended weapon on my list to purchase before Rise of Iron, because this will not be here when Rise of Iron drops. So Guardians, please grab Hawksaw, the pulse rifle, out of the vendor before Rise of Iron drops on September 20th in 10 days. Moving on, we have the final weapon out of the Crucible, and that's going to be Last Extremity, the Scout Rifle. If we go into it, we have Zen Moment, we have Surrounded, Casket Mag, Lightweight, and Triple Tap. If you run Triple Tap with Casket Mag and then also Zen Moment, this gun is actually pretty good in Crucible. It's also really good in PvE. So if you can, try and get your hands on it. I wouldn't recommend getting it out of all of the other guns, just one of the guns that you should get if you have all the other ones already. And there is the Crucible Quartermaster, Guardians. So let's move on to the next vendors. Okay, Guardians, so the one gun that we want to get from New Monarchy to bring with us inside of Rise of Iron is going to be the sidearm. If we go into the inventory and check out the sidearm, we will see the Conviction 2. Details will view the rangefinder perk, the spray and play perk, and high caliber rounds. These are the 3 perks you want to run on this weapon. You can run a pendant magazine if you want to, if you don't want high caliber rounds, but if you run the high caliber rounds with the new buffs for the sidearms inside of Crucible, it's going to work very, very well. So if you can get your hands on this before Rise of Iron, I would recommend doing so. Okay, Guardians, so with 4 weapons left on our list, we have 1 weapon coming from Future War Cult, and if we go in, we can inspect Future War Cult's weapons. Now, the one that you want to get is the Vacancy. Why? Well, honestly, this fusion rifle is not that bad. It's got Danger Close, Rangefinder, Braced Frame, Enhanced Battery, and Hot Swap. Hot Swap with any kind of fusion rifle is actually pretty good. Now, if you have Hot Swap and Enhanced Battery along with Rangefinder, this gun makes for a pretty good ally inside of the Crucible for yourself against Guardians. Now, if you do get this, awesome. If you don't have time to get it, I wouldn't really worry about it if you don't get to bring this gun into Rise of Iron. It's not actually that important, but it is a good one, pretty decent, and honestly, it might even be even better with the new patch for 2.4.0. I haven't actually tried it out yet. Okay, Guardians, so my buddy Jalal from Dead Orbit, he's actually got 2 guns that we might want to look at in bringing with us to Rise of Iron. So 2 guns I personally find very effective. Now, going into his approach, we can look at the Paleo Contact JPK-43. This gun has killed a few Guardians inside of Crucible, and now alongside the 2.4.0 patch for Rise of Iron, this gun works even better now. Along with Icarus, Perfect Balance, and Hipfire, if you're using a self-res Warlock that can float inside of the sky, and you use Hipfire along with Perfect Balance, it's fairly accurate, and you can kill Guardians from a very, very far distance. Surprisingly, it's almost like a pulse rifle and a scout rifle, except full auto. And it's got a magazine size of 38, fairly decent, and it's also able to be used with melee and grenades, making it even more effective. So this gun all around is pretty awesome in Crucible, but it's even better in PvE, so if you can, grab this gun while you can. Moving forward, we also have to talk about Patch A. Now, Patch A, surprisingly, isn't actually that bad from Dead Orbit. The vendor version has knee pads, which isn't really that important, but sliding further during Crucible might actually help clear a distance gap between an enemy. Then it's also got Final Round, and if you have a Final Round in the magazine, then it deals bonus damage. Alongside hand-loaded or rifled barrel, this makes for a very deadly combination. If you slide in front of an enemy from a very far distance with a Final Round along with rifled barrel, I guarantee you, you will kill the Guardian in front of you. Now, that is all for Dead Orbit. Let's move on to the Vanguard. Okay, Guardians, so now we're at the Vanguard Quartermaster, and personally, the only gun in here is going to be the Apple of Discord, but the version inside of the Vanguard is fairly decent, but probably my least favorite gun out of all of the vendor weapons. So please try to leave this one for last if you want to acquire all of them before Rise of Iron. So when you approach the Vanguard Quartermaster, you will just go over to the Apple of Discord, and then you will inspect, and it's got a surprising SC Hollow and a LB Assault, which are 2 very interesting scopes, along with Headseeker, Counterbalance, and Snapshot. Hand-loaded and reinforced barrel are probably the least important. If you use Snapshot, Counterbalance, and Headseeker, this makes for a fairly decent gun inside of Crucible, and yes, this gun has killed Guardians inside of Crucible, but still a lot of counters exist for this weapon, so be careful in using it, and try to practice with it before you actually decide to go into a really sweaty match for Crucible. And there you have it, Guardians. That's all of the guns. That's 10 guns that I believe should be brought with you to Rise of Iron. Yes, you can pick and choose between your favorites, and yes, this is only my strict opinions, but then again, Guardians, I have been playing Destiny for quite a while, and I do think that these guns are fairly decent to bring with you. So please take in mind that some of them might work for you, some of them might not. I know all of them do work for me occasionally, and again, Guardians, thank you for all of the support, and I'll see you all in the next video.